Vice President Kamala Harris is taking center stage for the Biden campaign as the president is sidelined with COVID. Harris spent Saturday in Massachusetts at a fundraiser for about 1,000 Biden supporters. The New York Times notes that during that event, she was, quote, sometimes interrupted with shouts of, "We love you," and "Go get him, Kamala." Meantime, the Trump campaign has refused to commit to a vice presidential debate. But Harris is giving us a preview of what that debate with J.D. Vance might actually look like.
Trump looked for someone he knew would be a rubber stamp for his extreme agenda, and make no mistake, J.D. Vance will be loyal only to Trump, not to our country. And unlike Mike Pence, Vance said he would have carried out Trump's plan to overturn the 2020 election.
Democratic Congresswoman Gwen Moore of Wisconsin joins us now. Good morning, Congresswoman.
Good morning.
Good morning, Congresswoman. Before we go any further, I don't know if you heard our last conversation, but we ended on one of our last guests noting that what is currently unfolding in the Democratic Party apparatus is healthy, this discourse. And I'm wondering what your take on it is. You know, as someone, you're a member of Congress. At this point, you still supporting the president?
Well, I'm a Biden delegate.
Oh, okay.
Totally. And in terms of being healthy, I guess that's a positive way to look at it. I'm thinking that I was around in 1968 when our convention was in Chicago, when the election was Tuesday, November 5th. And I'm feeling concerned about the outcome. What they say is true, that, Democrats fall in love and Republicans just fall in line. Republicans have found it possible to support, a sexual assaulter, number one. A 34-count convicted felon, someone who, lies. In that same debate that they're criticizing President Biden for, he lied. Every time his mouth was moving, he was lying. And yet, we can't stand with our president, who is 81, a few years older than Donald Trump. But this is who people have nominated. They've nominated Joe Biden, someone with great character, great experience, who is a little bit fragile and a liar. And so these are our binary choices. So they say that what's going on now is healthy, and I'm hoping that they're correct.
I'm sorry. Gwen Moore is she's like, well, let me just tell you, put on my black mom voice for y'all and just see what I can do.
Congresswoman, I appreciate everything you just said in the sense that, you do have that aspect of this, that you can look at it as, quote, healthy. But you are a seasoned politician. You have been in this process and know how Washington works. A lot of the chattering classes and individuals who have their agendas and all of that. I would think right now that Democrats would be more focused on the threat that's in front of them, as opposed to creating a threat within their own house. In other words, trying to take the president out of position to go at Donald Trump effectively. But at the same time, seems to me they're undermining anyone. If they do replace the president, they're undermining the next person who's coming in, because now you've actually fractured your base even more, because 14 million Democrats over the primary season voted for the guy that they knew when they voted for him he was 81 years old. As one person on Twitter tweeted to me, he was 81 when I voted for. He was 81 when I voted for him in the primary. He'll be 81 when I vote for him in the general. Don't piss me off. Do you see Democrats running this risk of effectively prosecuting the case against Donald Trump because of everything that's happening right now?
One of the things that really concerns me is to look at the sort of racial divide with regard to who thinks we ought to stick with Joe Biden and who thinks that we ought to have perhaps even an open convention. And I'm an Uber rider. And so I talk to Uber drivers who say, look, I'll push the wheelchair and get somebody else to push the IV if that's what we have to get Joe Biden to January 20th, 2025. Black women certainly, they have called me to say, look, I am done with the Democratic Party. And so I'm wondering what the strategy is to get all of us to be unified around whatever happens. And I agree with AOC and Bernie, is that there doesn't seem to be any commitment on the part of those who think that this is healthy to make sure that Kamala is at the top of the ticket and that we have some other VP. There are people who really, I think, would like to displace the entire ticket. And so I don't know what will happen. I don't know whether it's healthy or not. I do think that every single voice I've heard in this debate respects Joe Biden. They love him. They see him as Uncle Joe. He will undoubtedly go down in history as someone who is maybe since LBJ, who would have been our nominee in 1968 had they not run him out, by the way. He's been a transformational president. So I don't know anybody who doesn't think that that's the case. But as my sister Brenda, who was an international flight attendant for 28 years, would say, I mean, people think we were there to serve coffee and tea, but our main function was to keep people safe. And the main thing that we had to prevent against in an emergency was to prevent people from panicking. Because once panic sets in, it's irreversible. And I think that we're in some sort of tailspin, hoping and praying and crossing our fingers that we'll all unify at the end.
Well, especially given the stakes, Representative Moore, you retweeted this tweet going into the Republican convention, quote, the RNC convention being in Milwaukee means one thing. The GOP is coming for Wisconsin. We need to stop them. What is that going to require from Democrats, Congresswoman?
Well, you know, I am convinced that in Milwaukee, Joe Biden can win Milwaukee. And you know, Donald Trump says that I'm trying to buy your vote by having the convention in Milwaukee. And from what I know, that there were many businesses that were deliberately shutting down because they didn't want the RNC business, you know, particularly. We have seen, and Joe Biden has come and shown us and demonstrated his commitment to supporting job creation, creating BMWs, black men working. We have a black plumbing company that has a long-term contract with getting rid of all those lead pipes. We have seen the impact of his policies as he is putting more resources into electric cars and electric charging stations. And black people are very committed, so he can win in Milwaukee. I do think, sadly, that the 24/7 assault on Joe Biden inevitably will have an impact on our ability. And if it doesn't stop soon, and if it's not resolved soon, I think that you know, no matter who's at the top of the ticket, we could lose Wisconsin. But right now, today, I think that Wisconsin is in play. And certainly, when I get back, I'm prepared to spend 24/7 in Milwaukee and in Wisconsin trying to deliver that message. I'm a Joe, you know, riding with Biden to keep democracies from sliding into autocracy.
You know, I got to tell you, Congressman, when you refer to yourself as an Uber rider, I thought you were saying that you were ride or die for Joe Biden. Congresswoman Gwen Moore of Wisconsin, as always, Congresswoman, so good to see you.